So, Daniel, I'm going to get right to it. I saw every play of the Michigan game, and this was obviously too script for the first half of what you would expect a Michigan team that most people think is still a top 15 team in the nation versus a Minnesota team that struggled. Michigan ran at will. The defense was lights out, and the run game, nothing, even though Darius Taylor is a fine running back. It just went to script for Michigan. Then all of a sudden, Minnesota gets the passing game going, that final drive of the first half. They get the field goal, very well executed. By the way, getting on the field in 2 seconds to kick that field goal. Then they come out in the second half, and after Michigan hit them with another haymaker, Minnesota puts together 3 drives, one aided by the punt return, but the passing game got in a rhythm with Max Brosmer. And Minnesota, before you know it, they're knocking on the door of an upset. And I had an issue with the onside kick, offsides penalty being called. I know that it may have technically, like by the hair on a forearm, been technically correct, but I don't think the officials should get in the way of that type of a play being executed. And who knows? Minnesota was practically in field goal range at that point and certainly had enough time to go for the game-winning touchdown. But your assessment of Minnesota's performance at the Big House?
Tale of two halves. I mean, the first half you get down 21-0 like that, and then sort of climbing uphill after that. You know, you get a block punt, you miss field goal, couple of turnovers. Field position was a big factor. You had the defense on short fields, and then you give up an explosive rushing touchdown. But then you come out in the second half and you play a lot better. It was like the flow of the game changed with the Hail Mary and then the bonsai kicking situation coming in and being able to make that, get it to 21-3. I thought the turning point in the game, though, was when Ethan Robinson got an interception, Michigan throwing the ball there. I felt like, you know, I was a little bit surprised that they took a shot there and they kind of bait him in with a little bit of a different coverage there and were able to get the interception. I thought that gave Minnesota some life, and the flow of the game really changed there. And then you get the 60-yard punt return by Coy Parrish, which he's a freshman from northern Minnesota who was a big coveted recruit, and he's played well in the punt return role. And I guess that last drive, you know, you look at it, you got a 4th and 6 conversion, a 3rd and 10 that you get to 4th and short, you convert that, and then the touchdown grab by Daniel Jackson, which was outstanding. I mean, I put out a piece today about how they kind of built up that play design from a previous look they had in a game against Nevada. So tomorrow night, we're actually going to unpack that play design, how they set it up from a previous game.
So Daniel, you know, Minnesota's been good enough to play teams close, not good enough to finish. So how do you kind of take that pair of realities with this season and factor that into the job you think PJ Fleck is doing with this team?
It's interesting because you look at these games, they haven't been able to put together a full 60-minute performance yet, where there's always some sort of detail lapse that hurts them, like costly penalties in the first game against North Carolina. Like you get a turnover, you get called for holding in the secondary. In the Michigan game early on, I thought, you know, pre-snap penalties were killing them. They had a couple of false starts. They had a holding. They were backed up, and Michigan's pass rush just started teeing off. And those type of things have hurt them all year. They've had illegal formations on punts, a couple of those. So it's detail things, drops. Those have been kind of untimely in certain stages of the game. So it's like cleaning up these detail mistakes. You know, ideally on that block punt, there was a lot of miscommunication going on. Yeah, player running on late. You know, you probably want to take the delay game penalty there. You got some miscommunication. Take the delay game, don't snap it, and you get blocked. It's just, you know, tying up some of these detail lapses is the big thing that they have to do. Can they play a 60-minute game? They just haven't been able to do that.
A lot of the worry on the USC side, I don't know if you got in a little bit later, but there's the one really big chink in this armor, and that's going to be USC's offensive line. They've been having trouble just for whatever reason getting a cohesive unit for a couple of years now, which has really slowed down this offense and is really putting Miller Moss at quite a risk. My question to you is I know you statistically, you guys have had a really good defense this year. as far as raw numbers, if you want to total defense. But what is your pass rush like? And do you feel you guys have success like some of the other programs of this year?
Ja Joyner's a guy to watch. He's a player, long, explosive pass rusher who has been gaining a lot of development recently. He's someone that I think can be a very good pro in the future. He's the guy I'm actually thinking. In this game, I feel like Minnesota is going to hit USC with a lot of stunts. I was watching games back, and I was looking at the left tackle. I thought that the left tackle was someone that could be exposed a little bit with some pressure package stuff, simulated pressure, stunts, those things. The left and the right side of the offensive line on the edges, I thought, were something that Minnesota could exploit. They do a lot of things. Minnesota's got an overload package, so they'll get Jalen Logan Redding, Ja Joyner, Anthony Smith, on one side, and they'll run some different actions and blitzes off of that. So I think Minnesota, they're going to have to be in a position where they can get USC's offense backed up a little bit. And then their pass rush is definitely capable of doing some things. Corey Heatherman has been good with pressure packages, timing those up at the right moments and doing things. Nickel pressure is a big thing with Jack Henderson. So keep an eye on what Minnesota does from a pressure package standpoint. I think the key is going to be first and second down. Lincoln Riley, I think the screen game is something that they could have a lot of success with against Minnesota. Minnesota's tackling, they've missed double-digit tackles last week again. Tackling consistency has been a problem, and I think that's something that with USC's mix of playmakers, I think that, Branch is someone that could have a big game.
What about the matchup between Minnesota's offense and USC's defense? Obviously, USC's defense much improved from last season, USC had some moments in each of its last two games. Against Michigan, it was on the ground. Against Wisconsin, it was in the air. 2 or 3 explosive plays crop up. I'd have to think that from a Minnesota standpoint, it's how can we crack that code and get a few explosives against USC? How do you think the Gophers are best positioned to achieve that against USC?
Yeah, one of the things I noted while watching the Michigan game back, the Michigan USC game, was the use of, just a little bit of motion, misdirection that gave USC second and third levels a little bit of trouble. Just, maybe a displaced defender, eye discipline in the wrong spot. I thought in the second half, they did a really good job. They went to that 5-man front, played a little more man coverage, got better leverage, maintained run fits better. It just wasn't quite enough based on the flow of the game. And so I thought, Lynn's amazing at second half adjustments. I mean, you go back and look at what he was doing at UCLA, what he's done in these games with USC, like whatever happens in the first half, you could expect D'Anton Lynn to come out and make really good second half adjustments. Well, I think the storyline is now if I'm D'Anton Lynn, looking at that first game that Minnesota had with North Carolina, what they're able to do pressure package wise, showing pressure on the line of scrimmage. You got 6-7 guys on the line, those cover zero presentations that you see on film that D'Anton Lynn has shown at UCLA, shown at USC, where they line up in the pressure and then bluff out into cover 2, different types of zone coverages that will be deployed with those. I think that that's something that you'll see USC try to deploy if they can get Minnesota into longer down passing situations. It's something that was effective at North Carolina used.
Anything else on this one, guys?
No, that was great. Appreciate you. Thanks so much.
I'm going to throw one more out there. Max Brosmer coming in as an FCS player who won that level Heisman. Has he performed and been the type player and shown the skill set that you anticipated?
I've been impressed with Brosmer's mental makeup. Like, he was taking a lot of shots in the first half of that Michigan game. I mean, they were backed up. O-line wasn't as tight with protection. Michigan was winning the line of scrimmage, but he stood in there in the second half. They were able to get some things going with the tempo, just blending in a little bit of tempo. And I thought that neutralized some of the things that Wink Martindale was doing pre-snap. It's a lot tougher to get in the right look or run the type of disguises that they like to do. And Brosmer was able to really show that type of, mental makeup to understand, like, hey, this is the look you need to get into. This is where the ball needs to go. Here's the play that works best. He sets all the protections for Minnesota. So he's definitely got that processing trait, and that's what Minnesota was looking for in a quarterback. He's starting to, I feel like, understand the speed of the game a little bit better. Early on, it was like throw shape, putting that ball into the window at the Power Five is a lot different than it is at the CAA level. So I think he's starting to figure out, like, hey, this is how the ball needs to be shaped in those situations. And the windows, they're a little bit different than they were at that level. So definitely noticing improvement with Brosmer just as he plays a little bit more.
And I know that was something that we discussed during the offseason, your evaluation of his studious nature to his position as opposed to Ethan Kalkimanis, who may have had a stronger arm, but maybe not quite the same approach to the game. Daniel House, Gophers Guru. That is the place to be, folks. And again, Daniel's going to join Matt and Josh on the film study session that they provide on Wednesday night. So, Daniel, we appreciate you stopping by. Is there anything in particular that you want people to lock in on with your platform this week?
Just a preview of the USC game coming soon. I put out a piece today on red zone play design. So if you want to check out some of the things Minnesota's been doing in the red zone, you can check that out there. We'll be walking through some of that tomorrow night. I'm really excited to dive into some things that I think USC fans will find interesting heading into the matchup.
Nice. Daniel, appreciate you stopping by as always.
Thanks, guys.